You see, wars mix a population up completely, uproot them. A whole generation of men disappears. The next generation of men is brought up by widowed mothers. And then there are enormous transplantations of, for instance, in Germany, all the Germans who were east of the Iron Curtains flooded into Western Germany, married Western Germans, and so on. They have no roots, they have no love to the village. They settled in a village because they got a job there, but they don't love the village, and so on. So that makes for a rootless population, and a rootless population looks for only what they have before their nose: a good job, money, a flat, schools for the children to bring them up. That's ABC. Naturally, I would do the same thing. I mean, if you are thrown out of your country, that's what you look for in the other country. And that destroys all human relationships, be the grandmother, the grandfather, the aunts being together, knowing the village. Everybody knew you when you were a little child. You are contained in a family. If you lose your father or mother, the whole neighbors come together and help you. And they knew your father and mother and so on. All these ties are broken. Mm-hmm. And we need continuity, historical continuity. And the more a population can have a time of long historical continuity, the more they get balanced. Because you see, I see it up here, how things regulate themselves. When I came up here, my neighbor, who's died now, who sold me the land, said, look here, up here in Moos, we are a little family. We quarrel we hate each other. He didn't talk to his own neighbor, never. They didn't greet each other. But we never go too far, because if we are stuck in the snow with the car, we have to help each other out. You wouldn't help me out, wouldn't you? I said, yes, I would. So he said, you see, for instance, one peasant cuts a tree across the border of the other peasant. He doesn't make a lawsuit. He smiles. And he cuts also a tree on the other side of the border. And then they meet again in the inn and they have a little grin at each other. And that's all there is. And so the shadow is balanced out. Mm-hmm. And you don't call the state in and the whole injustice of so-called justice. It's all settled on human level. And everybody knows everybody's shadow and says, don't tell that lady that and that, you know, she's so and so. Gossip is a form of low kind of psychological analysis of each other, you see. Uh-huh. And so everybody's contained. And now I feel, first I was the foreign queer lady here with a funny house. But now that I'm here for a long time, the peasants come to me and talk we the Bollingen people, don't want Jona to do that and that. I belong. Uh-huh. That makes me very happy. Uh-huh.
And Switzerland has had a long history.
Not much yet. It has also big towns, and there we have all the troubles we have in the world. Mm-hmm. But we have still big areas of little towns and villages where the great-great-grandfather is buried in the churchyard, mm-hmm. and where people just follow on the rhythm of the past and are contained in a natural community.
There must be something, though, in the psychology of the Swiss, not just the geography, that has allowed this introversion of war, as Miss Hannah once put it, so that war isn't acted out.
Well, I don't think we are better. It is just we are so small that we can't act out war. I mean, we can't attack Germany or France or Italy. We are the smallest. And therefore, we have to defend. We are like a hedgehog. We just try to defend our little country, and we can't afford exploding with our shadow against the others. We would nicely get it if we did. Mm-hmm. So we have a shadow. We can't explode outside. So that has finally made us reasonable to look at our own shadow. It's the same as a neurotic patient. Generally, he only comes in analysis to look at his shadow when he has quarreled with his whole surrounding so badly that he has to. Then he says, my God, perhaps it's me. Let's look at it. And that's how it's gone with us. And then slowly the Swiss got reasonable and realized the advantage of it and made it an institution. Our democracy is an institution of quarreling with each other on the basis of certain legal limitations.
Mm-hmm.
We have a constant hot, not cold, but hot war among each other.
Mm-hmm.
But we are respecting certain fair play rules where it could get too bad.
Well, do you think that the big powers in the world, like the United States and Russia, are learning their limitations now at all?
I think that is my hope, that they get into the same situation that they can't afford a war anymore, and therefore get confined to their own borders. And if they are confined to their own borders, then they will have to confront themselves with their inner difficulties. What's wrong in their own country.
So
the Russians will have to look at their dissidents and take them a bit more seriously. And America will have to look at their commercial dealings, which are a bit too rough. And look at the shadow there.
In that case, a depression might be the beginning of a healing process.
Yes, certainly. It's a great advantage. A depression is a blessing of God. I mean, in the individual, it's the greatest blessing somebody can have.
Not used to looking at it that way.
Jung always talked about the blessing of a neurosis, because it's the only way you are tempted to look within. As long as things go out well, you run away from yourself. Or most people do.
When we must deal with problems, we instinctively resist the way that leads through obscurity and darkness. Yet these results can only be brought about when we have ventured into and emerged again from the darkness. There's a kind of stillness that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like everything has stopped. You're awake, but gone. The world moves, but you don't. It's not sadness, it's numbness, as if something that was once alive inside you disappeared. You've read the books, tried to stay positive, you've even asked for help, and still, the heaviness returns, the meaning disappears, and some part of you whispers, something is seriously wrong with me. But what if this darkness is not a malfunction, but a message from the soul? What if your depression is a symbol, something the unconscious is trying to say? Your depression is a messenger, even if you don't yet understand the message. We've been told that depression is just a chemical imbalance, a malfunction, a mental illness, something to get rid of. But Jung saw it differently. In many cases, we have to say, thank heaven he could make up his mind to be neurotic. Neurosis is really an attempt at self-cure, a self-regulating psychic system trying to restore balance. The unconscious pulls back its energy from consciousness, its forward motion, and we mistake this retreat for failure. But what if it's not failure at all? What if this is the psyche's way of saying something is off, the life you were living is no longer true? A deep transformation is needed now. Something must change. And what if we listened? What if instead of trying to silence the symptom, we began to wonder what it might mean? Not a disease, but a message. A signal that the old story you were telling can no longer hold who you should become. Depression doesn't isolate you from humanity. It unites you with something ancient and shared. Across cultures and mythologies, descent is a sacred pattern, and always comes before rebirth. Inanna, the goddess, is stripped bare and hung in the underworld. Christ descends before resurrection. Orpheus loses everything before he sees the truth, and so does Job. Depression is not random, As Jung wrote, the cause of neurosis is the discrepancy between the conscious attitude and the trend of the unconscious. Your psyche pulls its energy away from outer life, from ambition, from the goals that no longer serve. The joy is gone, the anger is gone, as if your soul no longer wants what your ego personality chose. But this withdrawal is not meaningless. It's a cry from the self. This is not your path. Jung wrote, and neurosis is by no means merely a negative thing. It contains the patient's psyche, an essential part of it. Depression strips you of illusion, so you can finally see what must die for something real to be born. It's a breakthrough in disguise. It compels you to confront the unconscious, to meet your shadow, and to reassess the values and roles that no longer serve your becoming. It's like the stage of Nigredo in alchemy, the dark, chaotic unraveling that precedes transformation, a sacred disintegration, a symbolic death, so something truer can rise. But when you're in it, depression doesn't feel like a message. It feels like a void, like failure, like your will has vanished. And your mind, that clever voice, begins to speak. You're broken, you're weak, you're wasting your life. This will never change. But what if that voice is not the truth? What if it's fear, a last attempt to protect a dying identity? The psyche creates symptoms. It lets your world unravel, so the false self has nowhere left to hide. And so that you, finally, will stop and listen. Symptoms are symbols. They express the tension between who you are on the surface and the deeper layers you've forgotten. And if we don't listen, those symbols grow louder, darker, stranger, until we pay attention. To heal from neurosis, Jung said, this dissociation is bridged by the assimilation of unconscious contents. Healing means listening, turning toward, integrating what was left behind. There isn't a quick answer. There isn't a 5-step plan. But there is something you can do. You can stop running. You can stop fighting it. And instead you can ask, why have you come? What in me is trying to die? What truth am I refusing to face? You can write, you can dream, you can sit and listen. Become an honest witness. I've seen people begin to heal, not when they silenced their pain, but when they befriended it, listened to it, conversed with it, not judging or rushing it, but turning to it and asking with humility, what have you come to show me? Depression may feel like collapse, but Jung saw it as the threshold of transformation. To lose the neurosis is to find oneself without an object. Hidden in the neurosis is a bit of undeveloped personality, a precious fragment of the psyche. It is a darkened room where your old identity dissolves and something more true begins to emerge. Jung called this process individuation, the long becoming of your whole self. Not a perfect self, but a self that is more whole. The parts of you that were lost, silenced, shamed, or ignored return and find their place in the whole personality. It's an initiation into the mystery of who you really are. So the next time the fog returns, before you numb it or try to fix it, try listening, not just to the pain, but to the soul that sent it. Your depression is a messenger, even if you don't yet understand the message. Don't turn away. Stay close. Something in you is trying to be born, and it doesn't need you to be perfect. It only needs you to be present, facing what is, and asking, with courage and patience, what is trying to emerge through me. As Jung wrote, Constant observation pays the unconscious a tribute that more or less guarantees its cooperation. The unconscious, as we know, can never be done with once and for all. It is, in fact, one of the most important tasks of psychic hygiene to pay continual attention to the symptomatology of unconscious contents and processes, for the good reason that the conscious mind is always in danger of becoming one-sided, of keeping to well-worn paths and getting stuck in blind alleys.